So deep context, contextual AI targeting. It's an amazing tool that we recently launched. And we launched it because there's a number of problems that we face, especially as African clients, right? So the most obvious one, first of all, is you're running a campaign, but you also want to reach people who speak Swahili, who read the Sheng news, but you're not able to do a keyword targeting campaign in those languages, right? I think that's the first biggest African problem. Even Kamba, even Luo, whatever, Amharic, what do Ugandans speak? So how do we, so this was born out of how do we create an AI tool that is able, number one, to understand local languages, because our ads are served in articles, right? So maybe you want to run a campaign for fishermen in Kisumu, right? The articles they read are probably in certain languages or in Kiswahili, right? So how do you target them in the places where they're reading news and content, yeah, outside of the normal English text-based keywords? And then the second one is we are now in a cookieless world, and people are like, I don't want my data being tracked. So how do you want to reach me, but because I've said I don't want my data being tracked, you don't know if I like to travel, you don't know if I am interested in savings and investments, you don't know if I want to buy a new phone, right? And this is a solution that was built out of that, and it understands meaning, so the places where we place ads at. So for example, I want to go to Mombasa, yeah? And I'm like, okay, I do research for 5 best restaurants. I go to read an article, 5 best restaurants to eat out in Mombasa, yeah? Maybe I love cooking, yeah? I go to recipes.com or whatever to go and read all these recipes and articles. So if you're a brand like Royco or a cooking oil brand, you want your ad to be seen when I am reading an article about making pasta or ugali or a new trending recipe. You want to reach me at the time, at like the perfect time, yeah? Because then I'll be like, oh yeah, maybe I can use this spice. Maybe I need to refill my oil. I think it's running out. Mombasa, I'm reading about 5 best restaurants in Mombasa. A jumbo jet ad comes, they're like, oh, I need to book my flights, right? So that ensures like the content people are seeing, and like it would be very different if I was looking at the recipe and then I get an ad for just to use it because it's trending, weight loss or something. Maybe weight loss might be accurate, or like a car ad, and I'm looking at recipes. In my mind then, if I was maybe reading a review about a car, or like maybe I was reading a Formula One, it may be relevant, right? But then because the ad matches what I'm reading, it becomes it becomes unanimous. It makes me want to be like, okay, it creates what I say, the ad recall is more impactful, yeah? Make sense? So this is how the AI does, and it's constantly, you give it a brief, so it's really cool. You give it a brief and you're like, I want to reach women who love cooking, or I want to reach travelers looking to travel in the month of January to February, because, and using that data, it starts scrolling the internet and finding articles or places where even like, for example, there are apps. If you look at travel apps, it starts serving ads on the travel apps because it like knows this person is probably going to travel sometime soon because they have this app, right? So yeah, so as I was saying previously, the challenges were the cookies, context. Context is the information where the ad is being served at the relevant time. And then, so what it does, it's not just using the keywords, it's using a whole brief, not just keywords. And even you can be like, I want to reach young people who are into, let's say, Sheng, into that type of culture, and then it starts looking for articles that are relevant to those, to, let's say, Islam's communities. Maybe it's about Brooklyn Boys, an upcoming hip hop artist. Then you have, let's say like S-Hook. It starts serving in relevantly cultural articles within the Kenyan context, which is something I think other advertising platforms may not easily be able to do because they don't have that Kenyan context, yeah? Next. So, and I'm like, yeah, so missing context, a lot of platforms don't understand. Next. Just, yeah, and then rigid definitions. So it can be like, I want to reach young people, but helping, most of them are not intuitive enough to understand, like, Kenyan Gen Z are probably very different from Uganda Gen Z or American Gen Z, but the platform uses Gen Z from America as the point, like across the world, they must all be like Americans. So there's not a lot of, it's very rigid because it's based off a different cultural environment. Language limitations, I feel this, and especially because we work in markets like Ethiopia and Tanzania, where Amharic, Swahili, even in South Sudan, their local languages are more popular than English. So it was like, and there's a lot of content that is overlooked that the people in those countries read. So we were looking to solve that limitation and then also being able to understand the context. And this is this article written in a positive sentiment or a negative sentiment kind of way? So for example, if you're a tourism company and you're looking to bring people to come to Africa, and it's an article about Kenyan Gen Z protests, it's able to tell this is not a negative this is not a positive sentiment article or something where I should serve my ad at. But if it's positive about the key, 5 reasons why you should visit Nairobi, the weather, the food, the people, then it's able to understand the context in which the article is written and serves the ad on there. And what it does is it makes marketing easier because it's very accurate. There's a lot of transparency because we are able to train it and also train it according to the client's specifications and needs, and then scale it up. We start with like maybe 10, 12 URLs that are like the benchmark, and then it goes across the whole internet to find more URLs. And some of the things whereby what it does really well is tailored for your brand. So as I said, you actually just upload the brief for your campaign and it's able to understand what you're looking for and search for those audiences. It improves purchase intent, as we saw, like because it looks for people during high intent, when they're reading articles online during high intent situations. It drives higher attention. As the example for reading an article for recipe and then cooking oil, the healthiest, best cooking oil to use. So I'll be able to be like, okay, I need to consider maybe using this cooking oil. And then it's really great for brand awareness. Real-time relevance. Like there's a lot of information going out every day on the internet, and it's constantly looking for the newest, freshest. Like if you're a brand that you're like, I want to be, let's say like a trust, or I think Durex are the ones who are a bit risky out there. You want to be seen in every single scandalous article about Kenyan celebrities. You can actually select to be like any news about Kenyan celebrities that is interesting or exciting. I want my ad to be seen there. If you're that kind of brand, because you can create a brand profile. Like I am an out there brand and I want to serve my content in out there pieces of articles. Articles. And then so there are people who are really key into Brand safety. So like, for example, I don't want to be seen in any news. Let's say, for example, if it's pop culture news, there are some topics that are not considered maybe brand safe. And we use, I don't know if you know double verify are some of the ones, but they block because they don't understand the full context. Sometimes they block because the word, for example, a word like maybe what? So it's an article about a marathon, and then the word gun was used, but it was used in the context for the gun set off and Faith took off, yeah? And led the race. But because the word gun is in that article, it's already blocked from ads being served onto it because it's considered not brand safe. So as I said, it looks to more context. It scans the whole articles and determines whether it's a positive or negative article before serving the ad. And then improved local context. I've explained this. Higher ad recall because it's matched to the creative is matched to the content that the person is reading, and then increased brand safety. So there are certain words, like also like Swahili words, Sheng words that may be overlooked because the AI doesn't know it's a negative word, right? So because we're able to input those capabilities for it to understand this is in a local language, it's not a brand safe word, yeah? Next. Yeah, and how it works, we build a brand blueprint which ensures brand safety and that you're reaching the right audience. And how it works is you give us the idea and the strategy, and then who you're trying to reach, and the values your brand is trying to. So a good example is Coca-Cola is all about happiness, yeah? So a brief for this would be, I want to run a festive campaign in all the articles that are talking about Christmas, New Year's, celebrating meals with family, and this ensures that your brand is aligned with all the articles that are aligned with the value for happiness, yeah? Next. And then tone of voice, as I said, if you are a more serious brand, we can curate the tone of voice. If you're a more happy brand, we can curate the tone of voice based on the articles the ads are served in. Cultural associations, I've spoken about this, trying to reach audiences that behave differently from normal. Emotional territory, if your ad is maybe like, we've seen like the pad one, so you'd probably run it on articles that are talking about women and women empowerment issues. And then if it's product, placing your product in places where it matches what the person is reading. And then brand essence. So what is your brand essence about? Happiness. So next one, and then the relevance engine. Once we have created that, we go to we upload it onto the AI. Next. And what it does, it scans all available inventory in the open web. Anyone who's open to advertising, it scans all the inventory. It processes and understands everything. Imagine, I know I used to run Google Ads. Maybe this is how I can give the context. There's a time you could select where you want your ads to run, like the YouTube channel, the YouTube URL. Imagine how taxing that is, yeah? With this, but not from the YouTube context, it's able to do all that for you within a 10-second split second. And when later on, I can open the dashboard, you guys can come and check it out and see how it works real time. And then it selects all the pages that align with the brand blueprint or brief that we have given it. And then it shares feedback, and you can even be able to tell it, I agree, I don't agree. I agree, I don't agree. And then it extracts the most relevant semantic keywords, and then enforces brand safety. And then also, another thing, it's able to see the trending topics happening. So it will be like, for example, Christmas will be trending next week, or something will happen, it will start trending. For example, like when the new Pope was elected, or when Raila died, sometimes the ad ops people have to go and manually switch off the ads, yeah? But what it does, it already knows automatically this is news that is not brand safe, and it removes all those articles that are related to this situation, if it's a negative one. If it's a positive one, it's like, this is very much in line with my client, like AFCON will be happening. It will pick, and if you're a sports brand, it will pick all the AFCON-related communication article without you having to even tell it, because it continuously learns as the campaigns go. And why it's really brilliant for me and for us, it's full customization. Every piece of content is evaluated. There's a lot of transparency and auditing that happens even before the campaigns go live. You can activate on scale. So once you have the blueprint ready, it activates. It just continues activating itself. And then it gives really good insights at the end of the campaign, yeah? Next. So, and this an example, I had shared this example. So if you have like brand safety tools that are already connected to your campaigns, so this would normally be considered an unsafe because of maybe the words gun, yeah? So, but once it reads the whole context where it's like, no, it's an article about athletics, Kenya winning, and you also see like this one has the word pepeta shots, yeah? So if this word pepeta was used in a different context, let's say it was a naughty word, but because it's not in English, most brand safety tools would not be able to flag it as a negative sentiment word, but our tool would be able to flag it as a negative sentiment word. And I said you have full control. So, for example, this blueprint was, we want people who align with premium experiences. So this thing, for me, I would disagree. I don't think Kenyans, if you're targeting a Kenyan audience, rock climbing is not something Kenyans do, right? But in other instances, it will be, okay, rock climbing is a premium experience, but you're able to be like, no, it's not, because this is not a Kenyan thing. The only people I've seen do rock climbing in Hell's Gate are white people, sorry. But maybe if an expert market is who you're targeting, right? Next. Yeah, and then also, as I said, you can even do negative sentiment. So like this is a prompt. So include positive, neutral sentiment content, business news, innovation stories, cultural highlights, informative, analytical, and neutral journalism. Exclude negative sentiment with intense emotions such as anger, fear, sadness, outrage, and sensationalize clickbait-style headlines as they often indicate polarizing, yeah? So this is also able to filter out. We know we have a lot of clickbait articles that are probably not true, yeah? And then you go and see brands there that have no business being there, yeah? So this ensures that that has already been taken care of. But a cool way also, brands can use this for share of voice. So for example, let's say you're a blue brand, you want to increase share of voice from yellow brand. Yellow brand has been trending negatively, right? And your cutthroat competitors, you're like, let's run ads on all yellow brand negative sentiment content, telling people we are the better option. I know it's, but you can do it, actually. You can do it, and it's very ethical if you're, if you take advantage of a situation, right? Or I like how, let's say Yellow Brand has released a new product, and yours is cheaper, and they've done all PR, people are talking about it, and you run an ad saying, but we are cheaper than they are, on all articles talking about their new product. So it's an interesting way you can use it. Also, I'm not advocating for it, but if your client is that way, so why not? Yeah. Next. And as I said, all the languages possible. This is, I won't really, this is German, I need to tell them to add Swahili here. So, but the one we have is Swahili. Amharic is is currently being activated. And that doesn't mean because you're running Swahili content on Swahili, ads on Swahili content, you won't be able to do English. It's just that you give it the prompts and you're like, Swahili content, the keywords in Swahili, you do the same for the language. So if you have maybe a client in Ethiopia, you'd have to get someone who understands Amharic very well to help build the blueprint, yeah? And also, even those other languages, if you are an airline, you want to target other markets that speak Spanish, English, and actually what it does is just translates. Like those ones are easy. You just give it the English one and then say, I want the Spanish version or the German version, and then you start running your campaign. So yeah, so how it works, we build a blueprint out of your brief. We use the relevance engine to find places to place your ads. We audit to see if it's actually working well, and then it's actually found URLs that are relevant to the campaign and give it feedback so that it lands, and then we activate it. And we currently have, next. And it's seamless, no matter where you buy. So if you use our DSP, you use Trade Desk, Adform, Amazon, DV360, we can implement it across those campaigns. One case study that not a case study, currently ongoing campaign for a client who sells Mabati. And the biggest challenge was, Mabati is for people who build in shags in certain locations. And he was like, but I want to sell Mabati. And we implemented this, and the results have been really great. Like in those regions, because now we are actually able to find the, the real audiences in Eldoret, for example, in the coast, because it's very hot, they have Mabatis that help cool the house and whatever. So they serve articles in certain weather-related articles or what is happening in the coast. So it's relevant to each region, and they have been seeing some really good results with it. Next. So I won't really go through this, but I'll share these presentations, but this is just a repetition of what I've talked about before. This is how it works, who it works best for. Next. And yeah, and this is like the really cool one. We have some pre-created blueprints. So like for now, if you come and tell me I want to run a Christmas campaign, we have a Christmas audience for Kenya. And we just launch it, and you're able to reach people in the festive, Christmas-themed spaces. Valentine's Day, Black Friday, Winter Olympics, AFCON will be a big one. So for example, if Harambee Stars had qualified, we would, and maybe you are, I don't want to use a TV company, you want to sell TVs. We target all the articles related to Harambee Stars, and then be like, watch the stars on our TV, right? That would be really nice, yeah? So, yeah, Easter, Eid, Ramadan. You can do tourism, banking, consumer electronics, food delivery, telco, fashion and beauty. So there's certain categories, and especially this works well for when you just want to reach a certain audience. It's not a very specific niche audience that you want to reach. Yeah, and let's create something amazing together. I know this is very advertising heavy. You may not be all into the buying and planning world, but I hope you got the gist of it. And if you have any questions, you'd like to know more, I'll be here. You can just come and ask me, and yeah, we can also test out the blueprint. You can see how it works, the AI tool, how it works in real time, yeah? Any questions? Are we good? Before I go? Good, good. Okay, thank you so much, guys, for your attention.